Ever feel a little smug opening your fridge, thinking everything's perfectly fresh and organized? We all do it, trusting that appliance to keep our groceries safe and delicious for longer. But what if I told you some common foods you routinely refrigerate a circumflex years, like potatoes, tomatoes, and even honey a circumflex years, are actually losing flavor, nutrients, or even becoming potentially harmful? Today, we're exploring 10 everyday foods that science and common sense suggest should *never* be kept in the fridge. Stay tuned until the end, because we Trade LL share simple storage tips that can revolutionize your meals, boost your health, and maybe even surprise you with how many mistakes you've been making. If you're enjoying these insights, consider how enriching it is to stay informed. A circumflex years, it might be worth keeping an eye out for future updates. Let's start with potatoes. These humble tubers, a staple in almost every kitchen, are incredibly versatile. Think of creamy mashed potatoes, crispy roasted wedges, or comforting potato gratin. They evoke memories of family gatherings and cozy evenings. But many of us unknowingly make a critical error storing potatoes in the refrigerator. It seems logical a circumflex years cold equals fresh, right? Wrong. This habit quietly sabotages their taste and quality. In the fridge's chilly environment, the potato's natural starches rapidly convert to sugars. This alters the character, making the texture gritty and unpleasantly grainy, while the flavor becomes oddly sweet, far from the savory essence we crave. Imagine biting into a fry expecting salty crispness, only to taste something sugary. Beyond disappointment, there's a health concern: acrylamide. When these sugar-laden potatoes are cooked at high temperatures, like in a fryer or oven, acrylamide forms as a byproduct. Research suggests potential links between acrylamide and certain cancers. While a single serving of fries won't cause harm, it highlights how small storage decisions impact our health. Why risk it when it's easily avoidable? Moreover, potatoes hate moisture and refrigerators are humid. This dampness seeps in, hastening spoilage and turning them soft, mushy, or even slimy, sometimes with an off-putting smell. The solution? Store them in a cool, dark, dry place like a pantry shelf or cupboard. Airflow is key, so ditch plastic bags for breathable paper bags or mesh sacks. And keep them away from onions, which release ethylene gas that encourages sprouting or rotting. By storing potatoes correctly, you preserve their hearty nature and soul-soothing comfort. Next, tomatoes, technically fruits but often treated as vegetables. Whether sliced for sandwiches, diced in salads, or simmered into sauces, tomatoes bring freshness to the table. Their sweet tart flavor is a gift. However, refrigerating them steals their magic. It's a common assumption that the fridge keeps everything fresh, but for tomatoes, it's a thief, stripping away taste and vitality. Tomatoes are delicate. Low fridge temperatures halt the ripening process responsible for their sweetness and succulence. Instead of deepening in flavor, they stall, becoming dull, mealy, and lackluster. A refrigerated tomato feels like a pale imitation, soft in the wrong ways, with a muted taste. Beyond flavor, there's nutrition. Tomatoes are packed with lycopene, an antioxidant tied to heart health and cancer prevention. Cold storage reduces lycopene levels, meaning you are not getting the full benefit. As we aim to nourish our bodies wisely, these small losses add up. The solution? Leave them on the countertop at room temperature, ideally stem side down to minimize moisture loss. If they're still firm, give them a few days to ripen naturally. Only refrigerate them as a last resort when they're bursting with ripeness and you can't eat them immediately. Even then, let them warm up before serving to coax out lost flavor and texture. Now let's consider onions, the unsung heroes of the kitchen. These pungent bulbs add depth and aroma to countless dishes. But if you're refrigerating them, you're in for unpleasant surprises. Onions dislike the cold, damp fridge, and their reaction proves its mismatch. Onions contain sugars and starches. In the fridge's chilly, humid environment, these sugars break down faster, causing onions to lose their firm bite and turn soft, soggy, or slimy. The flavor shifts to overly sweet or takes on a funky tang as mold creeps in. It's far from the sharp, robust taste that makes onions indispensable. Then there's the aroma. Onions are known for their potent scent, and in a fridge, that smell seeps into everything you buy. Your butter picks up an oniony edge, your strawberries take on a strange whiff, and even your milk might taste suspiciously savory. The fix is simple: store whole onions in a cool, dry, well-ventilated spot away from the fridge. Skip plastic bags that trap moisture and invite rot. Instead, choose a basket, paper sack, or mesh net that lets air circulate. And keep onions separate from potatoes, which emit gases that speed up onion spoilage. If you've already sliced or peeled an onion, the fridge is an option, but only if you wrap it tightly in plastic or seal it in an airtight container to trap the odor. Garlic is more than just flavor, it's tradition. This culinary cornerstone brings warmth and soul to the table, but pairing it with a refrigerator compromises its spirit. In the fridge's cold embrace, green shoots sprout from the cloves, bitter intruders that twist its bold, earthy taste. The cold also invites moisture, which garlic despises. That dampness softens the cloves, encourages mold or hastens spoilage, turning your once proud bulbs into a squishy mess. Worse yet, garlic's porous nature means it soaks up surrounding odors. To keep garlic at its peak, let it breathe. Store whole bulbs in a dry, well-ventilated spot a circumflex yours in mesh bag, open basket, or clay pot works. Airflow keeps it firm and fragrant for weeks, even months. Once you break a bulb apart, use the cloves within a few days for the freshest flavor. If you chop or crush garlic ahead of time, a brief stint in the fridge is fine, just seal it tightly. A quick caution, if you ever preserve garlic in oil, refrigerate it and use it within a week to sidestep bacterial risks like botulism. Oh, the avocado! With its velvety flesh and healthy fats, it's a darling of kitchens worldwide. Whether smeared on toast, whirled into a smoothie, or sliced over a salad, avocados bring richness and nourishment. But when it comes to storage, the refrigerator is often a false friend. If your avocado is still firm and unripe, tucking it into the fridge is a mistake. Avocados rely on a natural ripening process driven by ethylene gas, which unfolds best at room temperature. The cold slams the brakes on that process, leaving you with a stubborn, rock-hard fruit that refuses to soften properly, tasting tasteless with a chalky texture. Some avocados chill too soon develop an unpleasant rubbery consistency or even blacken inside. Now, let's say your avocado has reached that perfect stage of ripeness. Can the fridge step in? Yes, but only briefly. Slashing a ripe, uncut avocado in the refrigerator can buy you a day or two, slowing the march toward of ripeness. But linger too long and the flesh can turn watery or stringy. Those precious fats begin to degrade and the flavor shifts from rich and nutty to sour or bland. And if you've already cut into it, that's a whole new challenge. Exposed to air, the surface oxidizes fast, browning and softening. To fight back, brush the cut side with lemon or lime juice, then seal it tightly. If you're impatient for that unripe avocado to soften, tuck it into a brown paper bag alongside an apple or banana, both of which are ethylene powerhouses. The golden rule is this: let unripe avocados ripen naturally on the counter and chill them only when they are perfectly ripe, and even then, just for a fleeting moment. Bananas are a gift of simplicity, brimming with potassium and natural energy. But if you instinctively stash bananas in the fridge to stretch their lifespan, you might be in for a letdown. Bananas are creatures of warmth that don't take kindly to the chill. Almost overnight, their cheerful yellow skins darken to a mottled brown or Kai black. But slice one open, and the flesh inside is still firm, starchy, and stubbornly unripe. It's a bizarre paradox. The cold stalls the ripening process, leaving you with a banana that looks geriatric but tastes raw and underwhelming. This isn't spoilage, it's a chilling injury. The cold breaks down the banana's cell walls, triggering that deceptive discoloration. And even if you rescue it from the fridge, it never fully recovers its intended sweetness or texture. So, how do you store bananas? Keep them at room temperature where they can ripen at their own pace. For best results, hang them on a banana hook, minimizing bruises and ensuring even airflow. If no hook is handy, set them in a bowl or on a plate, but keep them away from ethylene-heavy neighbors like apples or pears if you're hoping to slow the ripening down. But what if your bananas are teetering on the edge of overripeness? Resist the urge to refrigerate them. Instead, freeze them. Peel the skins away, slice them into rounds if you like, and stash them in a freezer bag. These frosty treasures are gold for blending into smoothies, stirring into oatmeal, or baking into moist, sweet bread. There's something timeless about melons. But if you're in the habit of sewing a whole and cut melon in the refrigerator the moment you bring it home, you might be dimming its shine, both in flavor and nutrition. Melons don't stop ripening once they are plucked from the vine. Left to their own devices, they continue to soften and sweeten. But shove a whole melon into the fridge too early, and you hit pause on that beautiful transformation. The cold halts the sugar-building process, leaving you with the lackluster fruit, watery instead of succulent, bland instead of vibrant. Watermelons, especially, suffer in the chill. Their crisp, refreshing bite turns grainy and mushy. Cantaloupes and honeydews fare no better. The flesh grows rubbery and that delicate sweetness fades into something forgettable. It's not just about taste either. Research has shown that melons stored at room temperature boast higher levels of antioxidants. Refrigerate a melon prematurely and you're not just robbing it of flavor, you're sapping some of its nutritional punch. So, let that uncut melon sit proudly on your counter, ripening into its full glory. Once you've sliced it open, though, that's when the fridge becomes your ally. Wrap the cut pieces tightly in plastic wrap or seal them in an airtight container to fend off air and bacteria. Then enjoy them within 3 to 4 days for peak freshness and safety. Bread is the heartbeat of the kitchen, one of humanity's oldest comforts. But if you're storing your loaf in the refrigerator to keep it fresh, you might be surprised to learn you're hastening its decline rather than preserving its charm. Refrigeration makes bread go stale faster. The culprit is a process called retrogradation, where the starch molecules in bread recrystallize as they cool, transforming a soft, pliable slice into something dry, crumbly, and tough. The fridge accelerates this transformation, especially if the bread is sliced or exposed to air, turning yesterday's fresh loaf into a shadow of itself overnight. And it's not just the inside that suffers. The moisture in the refrigerator can seep into the crust, leaving it soggy and sad while the interior hardens. So, what's the better path? If you'll polish off your bread within a few days, store it at room temperature in a cool, dry spot, a bread box if you've got one, or simply in its original paper wrapper or loosely sealed paper bag. If you've got more bread than you can eat before it turns, don't refrigerate. Freeze it. Slice it first if it's not already. Wrap it tightly in plastic or a freezer bag and stash it away. When the craving strikes, pop a slice in the toaster or warm it in the oven. It'll taste nearly as good as the day it was baked. Honey is a wonder more than just a sweetener. It's a piece of history, a healer's remedy, a taste of the Earth's quiet labor. Archaeologists have unearthed jars of honey in ancient Egyptian tombs, thousands of years old and still perfectly edible. It's antibacterial, soothing, and endlessly versatile. But for all its resilience, honey has one simple request: don't store it in the fridge. When honey meets cold temperatures, it crystallizes at an accelerated pace. Those silky threads turn into a thick, grainy mass, sometimes hardening into a solid block. It's still safe to eat, mind you, but spreading it on a biscuit or swirling it into your chamomile becomes a chore. Beyond practicality, refrigeration introduces a subtle risk: moisture. If the jar isn't sealed tight, the cold air can sneak in tiny droplets of condensation. And while honey's natural preservatives usually fend off trouble, excess water can tip the balance toward fermentation. Where does honey belong? In your cupboard or pantry at room temperature in a tightly sealed jar away from heat and sunlight. If it crystallizes over time, set the jar in a bowl of warm water, stir gently, and watch it melt back into its flowing glory. Olive oil is the soul of the kitchen. With its smooth peppery bite, golden green sheen, and heart-healthy polyphenols, olive oil is a cornerstone of flavor and wellness. But there's one mistake too many of us make: storing it in the refrigerator, thinking cold will keep it pristine. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. At low temperatures, it solidifies, turning cloudy and thick, sometimes forming waxy white clumps that look alarming. It's not spoiled, it's just the natural fats congealing. But it's a pain to pour, cook with, or drizzle when it's half frozen. Let it warm back up and it'll mostly recover. But repeated chilling and thawing can subtly degrade its fiber. Worse, the fridge introduces a stealthy foe: condensation. If moisture creeps into the bottle from the cold air, it can mix with the oil. A circumflex zeros water, and oil being an easy bed flows a circumflex zeros and invites spoilage over time, fostering bacteria or acidity. Olive oil has 3 sworn enemies: heat, light, and air. The fridge sidesteps heat, sure, but it doesn't shield against light, especially when you open the door or prevent that sneaky moisture issue. Instead, store your olive oil in a cool, dark corner of your pantry or a cupboard far from the stove's heat and the window's glare. A dark glass bottle or stainless steel tin is ideal, blocking lights, damaging rays, and a tight cap keeps oxygen at bay, slowing oxidation, the process that turns oil rancid. So, there you have it, 10 everyday foods that truly deserve a better home than your refrigerator. From creamy avocados to golden honey, each of them carries not just flavor and nutrition, but tradition, culture, and care. And maybe that's the real message today. Food isn't just about calories or expiration dates. It's about the choices we make every day to support our well-being, our comfort, and our families. It's about slowing down, noticing the small things, and treating even the simplest items as circumflex zeros, like a loaf of bread or a bulb of garlic, as circumflex zeros, with the same respect we give to something far more delicate. As we get older, we start to realize it's the little things that make the biggest difference. The way you store your food, the way you prepare a meal, the way you remember a recipe your mother used to make, or the smell of your father's Sunday breakfast. These aren't just habits, they're rituals. And when we do them with care, they nourish more than just our bodies, they feed the soul. So before you put that tomato in the fridge or toss that onion in a drawer, pause for a moment and ask yourself, is this how it was meant to be? Often the wisdom we're looking for isn't in a science lab, it's in the stories we grew up with, the way our grandparents did things, and the things we used to do before convenience got in the way of common sense.